So I'll tell you, my best piece of advice is to never stop learning. You know, you're going to be leaving school, you're going to be going to your first job, you know, but never stop learning. Keep that learning spirit, be a sponge at the beginning, ask a lot of questions, you know, and move to new experiences throughout your career. So I guess I would say there's not a typical day in my job. I'm currently I serve as the corporate actuary, so it's a financial reporting role. So I work on quarterly financial statements, I work on annual actuarial statements, and my job is to be a conduit to a lot of the other actuarial areas across the place. So when questions, issues, items come up, they call me. So, you know, it's kind of a whole mix of different things. Okay, what I find most challenging is that it is exactly how I just described. It's not a typical day, right? And there's going to be new issues, new problems, new questions every day, and it's things I've never dealt with before sometimes, which is interesting to say. After 27 years in the insurance industry, I get questions on a daily basis that I haven't come across. So that's a challenge, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to answer those questions. Okay. What I find most enjoyable is the people I work with. I work with incredibly smart, talented people. I love smart people. I love the intellectual curiosity of individuals. I love the intellectual challenge of the business problems and the conversations. I love the camaraderie. I love the spirit. I love the culture of a place that where collaboration is really important, and working together with individuals that you respect and can learn from is really powerful. So I've done presentations before, and especially to actuarial groups, and typically in college campuses, you know, it's typically 30 or 40 people. And in my first conversation with the folks at Temple, then when they said it was a couple hundred people in a room and maybe a couple hundred more in other rooms, I was a little, wide-eyed on that. It's natural to be nervous. If you get up in front of people and are not nervous, then something's wrong with you, okay? But the team here was fabulous. I had some, I guess for me, some technical things in my presentation that I couldn't figure out how to get to them, and they took care of it for me. They showed me where to go, and it's an incredible group of people here, very professional, and we're having a great day.
Today we are proud to have Renee Davis, Vice President and Chief Corporate Actuary at the Travelers. Renee has been with the Travelers for 25 years, where she has held several positions in personal insurance, business insurance, specialty lines, and even financial and bond products. We're very excited to have her today. She's a fellow of the Catastrophes Actuarial Society and a member of the American Academy of Actuaries. She has a great presentation, and please help me in welcoming Renee Davis.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that warm introduction. Thank you to Dr. Drennan and the Gamma Iota Sigma, especially Patrick's leadership team, for inviting me to speak to you today. It's an incredibly exciting time in the insurance industry, and I want to congratulate all of you for choosing this path. It's incredibly exciting because the extent and the pace of change will create tremendous opportunities for all of you. So I'm going to talk about change today and why I think it creates opportunities for you, for me, which is good after 25 years, and most importantly for insurance companies. So before I do that, I'm going to start with a high-level view of Travelers' financial strategy, and then I'll end with some personal strategies on what I have found to be successful in my career. Okay? So let's get started. This is the Travelers' long-term financial strategy. And it starts with this box, this black box in the middle of the page, to create shareholder value with a mid-teens operating ROE over time. So ROE, return on equity. So it's a ratio, right? Return or earnings divided by equity or capital. So if we want that to be high, how do you get a ratio to be high?
Excuse me, Renee.
Yes.
Turn on your microphones real quick.
Oh, they're not on? I'm sorry. You guys can probably hear me here because I'm very loud. This one's. Is that? Can you get it on?
The one on the other side.
I got that one. Is it on now?
Yep.
There we go. Okay, that one was on. I'm not going to go back, okay? I think I was loud enough, okay? So if you want a ratio to increase, well, you could increase the numerator, right? Increase earnings or revenue. That's the middle box. Generation of top-tier earnings. How else can you increase a ratio? Well, you could decrease the denominator. Okay, so that's interesting. Decrease capital or equity. Well, there's some competing forces there, right? There's lots of reasons why we want capital or equity to be high. We want a strong capital base to support our ongoing operations. We want a strong capital base for high ratings from our rating agencies. We want a strong capital base to fund growth opportunities. So that's why the words on the right-hand box are important. A balanced approach to right-sizing capital. So yes, we need strong capital, but if our earnings stream creates excess capital, we want to return those to shareholders through dividends and stock buybacks, and that's what we've done. So how do companies do this? Well, that's why do we get to the left-hand side of the page. I think the way companies do this is by creating competitive advantages. We need competitive products sold at competitive prices in an environment that allows for data and analytics to generate better decisions, better business decisions. And by any, I lost my clicker, I'm sorry. By any stretch of by any measure, Travelers has lots of competitive advantages. We're a return-focused company I just talked about. Where our product breadth and specialization is top in the industry. We're viewed as a leader by our brokers and agents who distribute our products. We have industry-leading data and analytics, and industry-leading claim and risk control. And we have the ability to innovate in a changing environment. So we talked about sustainable competitive advantage, and I have a quote from Peter Senge, who said, "The only sustainable competitive advantage is a company's ability to learn faster than the competition." So I think we have that in these capabilities, and we have the ability to innovate in an environment will not only change the way we do business, but the risks that we are insuring. So change is not new to us, right? Change is not only in front of us, which I'm going to talk about, but change is also already behind us. The digital disruption has already happened. So you guys are going to know these, but I'm going to put them up, okay? The world's largest taxi company owns no vehicles. The largest accommodation provider owns no real estate. It's thought-provoking, huh? The most popular media owner creates no content. The fastest-growing banks have no actual money. This is a bank in Australia, by the way. It might not be common name. The world's largest movie houses have no cinemas. And finally, the largest software vendors create no apps. Don't write any apps. These companies have taken a traditional operating model and quite frankly turned it on its head. And they have put traditional companies out of business. So why is this important? Why is this important to me? These are not insurance companies. We don't compete with these companies. Why is it important? Well, these companies have changed the way they're doing business. And with change creates new and different risks. And as an insurance company whose job it is to underwrite risk, new risk creates opportunity and challenges, quite frankly, to better understand, develop products for these new risks, underwrite and price for it. The second reason it's important is these companies have changed the expectation of customers on how they want to engage with companies. And this is important for us because we want to sell products to these same customers. So it's important for us to understand this dynamic. So what about change in the future? So several years ago, PricewaterhouseCoopers, or PwC, published a study labeled Insurance 2020, Turning Change into Opportunity. And through their research, they came up with 35 factors in 5 different key drivers, under 5 different key drivers, that they thought was important for the insurance industry. So when you look at this slide, it's almost a little daunting. You can almost say, well, what isn't going to change, right? So I'm going to talk about some of these, not all of them, because we don't have that amount of time, and talk about what I think the impact to the property casualty insurance industry is, and how I think data and analytics can be used for competitive advantages in these areas. Okay, so let's talk about first social. I'm going to put them up this way so people can see them, because that's the slide. They're really small. Okay, and I'm just going to pull out the ones I'm going to talk about. So the PwC study states the balance of power is shifting toward the customer. Customers will continue to demand simplicity, transparency, and speed in their insurance transactions. I think this is going to be a challenge because the insurance contract is a complex financial transaction, and it's not like buying books or electronics on Amazon. But it also creates an incredible opportunity to use data and analytics about our customers to understand the risks that they're presenting. Let's go to technology, where the PwC study states, advances in software and hardware are transforming big data into actionable insights. W. Edwards Deming, maybe one of the pioneers, data scientists, stated, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. So data in our world is incredibly important. And the expanded use of connected devices and social networking, just to name a few, is going to create vast amounts of data, both unstructured and structured data. The companies that can harvest this data and use it for better pricing, underwriting, and loss control are going to have a competitive advantage. Advances in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and natural language processing will lead to better decisions, but only if companies can harvest those capabilities. So why do I have medical advances up here? So we're a property casualty company. We're not a health or life insurer. But in the property casualty space, a significant portion of our losses go to medical costs. Whether it's a person who's injured on the job through workers' compensation insurance, or someone injured in an accident, auto or otherwise, we are paying those medical costs. And changes in medical advances, medical technology, has a huge impact on our industry when it comes to care, cost, life expectancy, and getting people back to work. So what I thought I would do to demonstrate how these capabilities, big data, technology, medical advances, can really start to build competitive advantages. I'm going to share with you a video you can find on the Travelers YouTube page, so it's in the public domain, that demonstrates how you can put these capabilities together to create competitive advantage. Oh, it didn't work. Oh.
Yard, there's work to be done, and employees work hard every day. They are the engine that drives your business machine, and if they get hurt at work, you want them to have access to appropriate medical resources and the best quality care. Care that uses the right treatment techniques with proven results, and sometimes an advocate to help you navigate the workers' compensation claim process. Because every injured employee requires a unique approach. You need a partner with the ability to synthesize vast amounts of data structured and unstructured data, from multiple platforms, technologies, and providers. Understanding the intersection of individual data points around the injured employee, we can quickly work with medical providers to identify, diagnose, and help plan the best medical care path for conditions and injuries. We can also analyze location-specific information, where people work and live, proximity and availability of healthcare resources, even spoken languages and cultural information, along with other environmental conditions. This insight, coupled with our advanced predictive capabilities, can inform more precise and effective treatment strategies that are deployed through our medical provider network strategies, pharmacy and pain management programs, and travelers' skilled medical professionals. Providing personalized care and helping employees get back to work as soon as medically appropriate, engaging directly with customers to promote safety and employee wellness, and getting the right resources to the right place at the right time to help positively impact the lives of injured employees and build a more resilient workforce, blending the art and the science, the people, the processes, and the technology, and turning information into help where it's needed most. That's the power of Travelers Analytics at work. Just one more reason it's better under the umbrella.
Data, data everywhere. Pretty cool, huh? All right, let's move on. Economic is the next key driver. Okay, we talked about some of these indirectly, right? We talked about distribution shift, customers looking for more online solutions. You know, we currently are basically distribute products through agents and brokers, so how is that going to change the landscape? We talked about risk sharing changes with companies like Uber and Airbnb. So let's talk about the other one, growth opportunities. So the top 6 emerging countries from a growth standpoint, China, India, Brazil, Russia, Indonesia, Mexico, continue and will continue to be a growing percentage of the world GDP. So insurance will be continually, there will be continued globalization, and companies will look to these areas for growth opportunities. Let's move to climate. So with increasing energy consumption, it will challenge the world to continue to look for clean energy solutions. And that will present new and different risks that insurance companies will need to understand, underwrite, and price for. So let's go to catastrophes. So whether you believe in climate change or global warming, I'm not making a political statement here, but regardless of whether that's true or not true, catastrophes will continue to be something that the insurance industry will have to face. And you know, as is obvious from the news today, the devastation in Haiti yesterday, Hurricane Matthew coming through the Bahamas and coming up to the Florida coast in a couple days. So this will be something that property casualty companies will have to deal with and understand. And at Travelers, we're using data and analytics to better understand the area hit by a storm. It helps us understand how many customers may be impacted, how many claim handlers we may have to deploy to the area, and eventually also how much loss potential there is. And someone in my role, that's incredibly important because to understand the potential losses, my role, I have to assure that there's adequate reserves on the balance sheet to cover our losses. So all of this earlier, faster information is incredibly important. So I thought I'd share one more video with you that highlights the things that we're doing there.
Volatility and uncertainty in weather patterns and conditions are making scenes like this common. Businesses and homes are damaged. Families are uprooted. Property is destroyed. When severe weather strikes, knowing exactly what happened, where it happened, and what's needed to help is critical. So we've built powerful decision tools that aggregate millions of data points from weather services, satellite imagery, and location information. We use the data from sophisticated weather models to see how patterns develop days in advance. We take in weather measurements from multiple sources dozens of times a day to track storm formation. We've built a proprietary approach to assembling data that lets us assess severe storms, like the precise size of hail forming in a storm cell, to understand the footprint of an event, how many customers will be impacted, and the probable severity of the losses. We can get an early evaluation of tornado damage, by applying location analytics, aerial surveys, and user-generated photos to understand at the street level the type of damage that occurred. We also combine data from other sources, local and government agencies, news sites, even social media, all to help us get the right help to the right people faster than ever before. Turning information into help where it's needed most. That's the power of Travelers Analytics at work. One more reason it's better under the umbrella.
So that van you saw going across the road there at the end is the Travelers CAT van. That is actually a mobile claim office that we deploy to areas heavy hit by storms. So the last one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but suffice it to say that it's always been a cause for change in the past, always going to be a cause for change in the future, the political landscape, okay? Whether it's increasing or changing risks as it relates to geopolitical risk, changing frequency or severity of terrorism risk, that has an impact on us. Whether it's financial changes in tax treatments, either at home or abroad, that has an impact on us. And then changes in the regulatory regimes, both for us, the state, the federal, and the global level now. It will continue to challenge the industry. So with all of this change, how do you navigate? How do you navigate your careers? So I thought I'd put some, my own lessons learned for you over 27 years in the insurance industry, or any industry for that matter. I'm going to put them up here. I'm not going to read them all. You guys can read them, and I think you'll know what they mean. I'm going to hit a couple of them. I'm sure lots of people get up here and give you pearls of wisdom. Okay, so I'm going to hit a couple that I think are important to me, or most important, I guess. Okay, the first one, it's first for a reason in my mind, because without it, nothing else matters. Work with integrity. I call it do the right thing, okay, or be honest. Be honest with yourself, your colleagues, your company. And if you find yourself in a situation where you can't do that, then my recommendation to you is get yourself in a different situation. There's two questions that most groups like yourself ask me. So I'm going to tell you what they are, so then you guys have to think of different questions when we get to that, okay? So the first one is, how do you stay at a company for 25 years? Aren't you bored? Okay, so I'm here to tell you I'm not bored, okay? And in 25 years, the breadth and depth that Travelers provides, I've done lots of different things, as Patrick went through my bio there, and in 25 years, I think I'm technically in my 8th role at the company, and through those changes, sometimes I made lateral moves, sometimes I made move for promotion, and all to keep learning. You'll see that as a theme up there, okay? The second question I most frequently get asked is, as a high-ranking senior female officer of a large company, how do you find balance, work-life balance? Okay, so I'm here to tell you I have no magic answer on this, okay? But balance is a very personal choice. And balance is also very rarely 50-50. There will be times when business priority means that gets a heavier weight of your own time, and there's other times it will tilt the other way. And through the course of your career, you have to decide personally where you are in your career, your personal, your financial situation, on what works for you. After I was working about 4 years and I was in a very large job, I was still studying actuarial exams, and within 2 years of that, I had gotten married and had my first child. So at that point, balance to me was to decide to work part-time. And I worked part-time for 10 years at Travelers. Now, I'm not telling you the only way to find balance is to work part-time. What I am telling you is it's a very personal decision, and you have to, it'll come as it comes, and there's no magic answer. So the last one that I'm going to highlight is help others succeed. So this may be interesting, right? But to me, I'll tell you, help your colleagues, your peers succeed. Help your staff. Help your supervisors succeed. And you will reap tremendous rewards. And I'm not just talking about personal satisfaction. I'm talking about career success. If you are known as a person who helps others from all angles, people will want you to work for them. People will want you to work for you and work with you. And what more do you need to advance your career? And last but not least, have fun, because it is an incredibly exciting time. And with that, thank you, and I'd be happy to take questions.
We have time for questions now. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We have microphones going around. If you're in the overflow room, now's the time to come over and ask your question. Please stand up, state your name and your major, and your question. Thank you.
I'm coming right here.
Good morning, Ms. Davis.
Good morning.
Morning, Ms. Davis. My name is Reem James. I'm a senior actuarial science major. And it's interesting that you talked about change. My question was retrospective to your presentation, but it's kind of correlated to it as well. So with predictive analytics basically on the rise, 80% by a study by Willis Towers Watson, 80% of personal insurance carriers are using GLMs. And some are using GMs as well. So my question to you essentially is, in two parts. A, what is the ALDP program at Travelers actually doing to incorporate these learnings in the life of an actuary? And how do you see it impact the life of an actuary going forward, considering that more and more insurance carriers are treating actuaries as luxury items, and they're more hiring few actuaries and more data scientists? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So, I'm not sure the stats on whether companies are actually hiring less actuaries, but my view on the actuarial science and the actuarial career, okay, is, the exams have already started to recognize this. Companies have already started to recognize what you're talking about, right? And, I can't speak to other companies, but I know training curriculums are available to our actuaries to expand their knowledge in these sciences, I'll call them, okay? And we also have AALDP, as you maybe know, is both actuarial and advanced analytics at Travelers, and why we tend to have, we will have rotations that cross into the different areas. So I do agree with you that this is not only emerging, right, but it's here. And I think these skills are going to start to morph, quite frankly. I think it's not going to be so. It is today. It's not going to be so black and white. There's a lot of gray, meaning there's skills that, quite frankly, the actuaries have more business skills and business knowledge and understanding of the underwriting and risks, and transferring that knowledge to the modelers brings tremendous benefits as well. So I see this going both ways. A company of our size can actually manage a lot of that through training in-house. Other questions? Yes.
Hi, Renee.
Hi.
Thank you for coming today. My name is Mai today. I'm a senior actuarial science major. And my question to you is, how has having an actuarial role impacted the decisions you make in your leadership role?
Great question. So at some point in my career, I can't really pinpoint it, but I think I stopped being an actuary and started being a business leader, okay? But I always considered myself, bringing an actuarial analytic perspective to the business decision process, if that makes sense. Okay, so at one point in my career, I was, often you start your career, you're with a group of actuaries or analytic folks, and that's you're learning, you're doing rotations, you're gaining knowledge. And at some point, I was leading an actuarial team when I was in the Bond and Financial Group. And that leadership team, I reported up to the CEO of that business. I was now the actuary at the table, at the leadership table, representing the whole actuarial group that was supporting this team. So I needed to understand the technical to bring the appropriate information, but not get too technical because, there's a balance there. But I would say what helped me the most is really having a strong technical foundation. I don't do much technical anymore, I'll be honest with you, okay? But I, put my dues in, really work to understand the technical, because you're going to get to a point where you got to be able to ask questions on technical work that you didn't perform. And you got to be able to translate it to business leaders, and you didn't do the work. So you really have to have a strong foundation to do that. There was another question in the back. Thanks.
Thanks for calling me, Fran. I'm a senior actuarial science major in Humboldt. I'm curious of your thoughts on the use of social
Well, privacy concerns are a huge difficulty, right? I think it has huge benefit for a couple of reasons. If we can gather data and find patterns in data, which is what we do every day, right? We can do that without asking customers a lot of questions about their behaviors, okay? We don't have to ask how long they drive if we can find out from some either social media or how far their commute is, okay, which is a key rating variable in personal lines, right? So that makes the transaction more smooth from a customer standpoint, okay? I think privacy concerns will be a challenge, right? And how we use that data, what we use it for, especially in the consumer space, the personal line space, where the regulations are pretty tight, and we understand those regulations. There's certain states where we can't use certain personal information to price policies. We follow the laws, so that will limit us, but there will also be benefits on the other side. Good.
My name is Marianka. I'm a master's student in Actuarial Science program.
Great.
My question is, you mentioned the use of artificial intelligence, and it's becoming a trend.
Yeah.
I read articles about insurance people who are using IBM's Watson to
Yep.
analyze their data access through UBI insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, do you see this as kind of a bubble, or is it a real thing? And
Good
does
question.
it provide some real competitive advantage? And how does travelers approach this new trend?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So in general, for travelers, I probably won't give you specifics, but in general, where there's new trends in technology or data capabilities, technical capabilities, we're looking at it, okay, investigating, okay? Your question about whether it's a bubble or not, so that's interesting, okay, because I think that jury's still out, okay, meaning I don't know that the cognitive capabilities, specifically through Watson, but there's others, have proven yet that they could create competitive advantages in this space. They have a great sales pitch. They have great ads, right? You've seen, they're like, wow, really? You can do that? But can they really do it, right? So I don't know, maybe I'm a classic skeptical actuary. Let me see the data before I believe it. I don't know. But I think this jury's still out. I also think it's too risky for companies to think that it might be a bubble. Meaning, if they don't start figuring out what the capabilities might be, they're going to be left behind, potentially. So this is why I talk about the pace of change, okay? Whereas maybe in the past some change, okay, you could wait and see mode, right? But if it does click on and it does really create competitive advantage. What USAA, I think it was USAA did with Watson is incredible. They moved all the way to their call centers being answered by the computer. So that's really on the cutting edge, quite frankly, right? Where it's personal interactions, not back office or back room assistance, if you will. So I think it's too risky, basically, to not be thinking about it, right? So we're thinking about it.
That's about all the time we have for questions. Just on me, thank you very much.
Thank you.